My name's David Cohen. I'm just 13 and I'm going to Israel for my bar mitzvah.
24B.
Not every Jewish boy celebrates his bar mitzvah in Israel. I'm very lucky. My father and mother, my sister Lisa and my grandma are going with me. This will be my second visit to Israel. Last year I spent a holiday here with my father, and I asked if I could come again this year to celebrate my bar mitzvah in Jerusalem. The Western Wall, which some people call the Wailing Wall, is all that remains of a temple built by King Herod almost 2,000 years ago. I'd seen pictures of the Western Wall in books, but when you're actually there, it has a special feeling about it. So much of our ritual, like the wearing of the tefillin and the prayer shawl, and covering your heads when we pray, has been handed down for generations. The scroll of the law, the Torah, is the most precious thing there is to a Jew, and to become bar mitzvah means to become a son of the Torah, a son of a commandment. This boy is just leaving the Western Wall after his bar mitzvah. He and his family are Sephardic Jews who came originally from Spain and North Africa. Their traditions are a little different from Ashkenazi Jews, whose ancestors came from Eastern Europe. When the Nazis tortured and killed millions of our people during the Second World War, the Ashkenazis probably suffered more than any other group. Rabbi Fisher, who's going to supervise my bar mitzvah here in a few days' time, told me how his family was forced to leave Austria when he was a young boy. He brought me to visit Yad Vashem, a museum of the Holocaust.
This is the Avenue of the Righteous Gentiles. This avenue leads to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust memorial marking the 6 million of our people who were amongst the 35 million killed in this period in those extermination camps in Europe.
These people help the Jews.
They either harbored Jews or they helped them escape from the Holocaust, and they are from all over Europe. Each tree marks a person or a group of people who were willing to risk their lives during the period of 1933 to 1945 in order to save the life of Jewish people. To you and you children of your generation, this is history, something that happened long ago. To people like myself and people of my generation, this is something we lived through and we felt. And so we come to this memorial hall to remember in silence and think of those who gave their lives, 6 million of our people.
All these concentration camps.
They are the names of extermination camps where people were killed by gas or other methods. There were many more concentration camps.
My visit to Yad Vashem made me see why so many Jews wanted their own land and how the State of Israel came into being. Some Jews hope that one day God will re-establish his kingdom in Israel. He will enter Jerusalem through the Golden Gate, and the dead will rise up and enter with him. Many Jews choose to be buried on the Mount of Olives, opposite the Golden Gate, to be ready for this great day. The old city of Jerusalem has 7 other gates still in use today.
Well, David,
We are now about to enter the old city of Jerusalem through the Damascus Gate. And you can see how bustling it must have been when people came from all over the world, bringing their sacrifices or the first fruits to the temple in Jerusalem. Here in front you see a small mosque, from where you can now hear the muezzin. The muezzin calls the Muslim faithful to prayer. He's calling them now to the lunchtime prayer. Well, David, look around you here and you see what is the Middle East souk, a marketplace where you find everybody offering their wares.
What's up?
Hello.
Would you like to have a look
How
at
are
my
you?
store here?
Yes, very much so. What do you have to sell?
50% discount.
50% discount
Yes.
on everything. Part of the pleasure of buying your things in a souk is the fact that you do haggle and you feel that you have done a bargain and the shopkeeper knows that he's got a bargain.
I found it interesting that in the city of David, Muslims, Christians, Jews and all others can live happily together and are free to worship God in their own way. But it hasn't always been so. When the Romans conquered Jerusalem in the year 70, a group of Jewish zealots, the freedom fighters of their day, chose Masada from which to carry on their fight against the Romans. Masada is the Hebrew word for fortress, a huge rock towering above the Dead Sea. On top of Masada, you can still see the ruins of many of the buildings where the zealots and their families lived. For 3 years, the zealots lived up here, completely surrounded by Roman legions. You can just make out the outlines of the camps where the Roman soldiers lived at the foot of Masada. Finally, the Romans attacked Masada with all their might. The zealots realized they had no defense against them. Rather than surrender and become slaves, they chose to commit suicide. 966 people in all. All over Israel, but especially in the Galilee, Israelis had developed a system of living and working together on kibbutzim. We visited a religious kibbutz, the Kibbutz Lavi, and we met CB, an Irishman who lives and works there.
This is a completely new area. When I first came here, this didn't exist at all. This was just one massive rock and a few bushes and that sort of thing. For the first 15 years, one of the major jobs we had here was clearing rocks by hand off the fields. Terrible, monotonous, back-breaking job.
How long have you lived in this kibbutz?
I've lived here now almost from the beginning. I came 28 years ago. The kibbutz started just over 30 years ago. And in fact, I have a photograph here I can show you where you can see me as a young man with my fiancée at the time. She's today my wife. Now you can see what more than 25 years in the kibbutz can do for you.
What time do you all start work in the morning?
The average day starts at 7, but of course it all depends what your job is. Generally the first ones to start are the cowboys, getting the cows in for milking 3:30 in the morning. Some of our fields are below sea level and it gets very, very hot there towards noontime. So you'd start early in the morning to try and get your work over there before midday.
You ever had a drought?
Last year we had a bit of a drought, but sometimes it's very, very serious.
Where'd you get your water from?
For the first 3 years we were here, water was brought up by truck every day, rationed out so much per head. And then we fitted up a narrow gauge pipeline and we had just about enough water for the bare necessities. After about 6-7 years, we fitted up large gauge pipelines, large pumping station, so that we do now have as much water as we need for homes and gardens.
Have you got a school here?
We have our own elementary school, but we don't have our own high school. Our kids go away to this other area along the Jordanian border where there's a group of religious kibbutzim. We want to give our children a mixture of a religious education and a kibbutz education. They come home every evening. Sometimes I look around and I see trees which I myself planted. I look at the tree and I say, oh, my goodness, I planted that tree. But occasionally you stop and look around and you see the minor miracle.
About 14 years ago, they built a new synagogue here, and it led quite unexpectedly to a new way of earning a living for the kibbutz.
We based the plans for our synagogue on the style of the ancient synagogue found at Capernaum to symbolize the continuity of Jewish life in the Holy Land. Everything inside the synagogue was designed and manufactured by our own people. When we had this finished, so what a nice job we did for ourselves. Some of the people here had a brilliant idea, decided to go into business manufacturing synagogue furniture.
The kibbutz, as it works today, is a modern idea, but Jews have lived in communities right through our history. And in an area of Jerusalem called Mea Shearim, there's a community of Hasidim who dress and live just how they would have done hundreds of years ago in Eastern Europe.
Dear visitor, you are quite welcome to Mea Shearim. But please do not antagonize our religious inhabitants by strolling through our streets in immodest clothing. Our Torah requires the Jewish woman to be attired in modest dress. Modest dress means dress sleeves reaching until below the elbows. Slacks are forbidden. Married women having their hair covered, etc. They are the virtues of the Jewish woman throughout the ages. We beg you not to infringe upon our way of life and holy code of law. The men are requested not to enter bareheaded. Mea Shearim, meaning 100 gates, is an area lived in by very pious Orthodox religious Jews who wish to maintain their own way of life and not be affected by modern civilization or modern trends.
The tradition of Judaism has always been to teach God's Torah, God's law. Every rabbi is a teacher and always takes the opportunity to pass on his traditions.
In what way are you so unique at 13? When you become bar mitzvah, in what way are you different from the Prince of Wales? When he became 13, what was the difference? What is the difference?
Your father now is relinquished from all Jewish responsibilities, because from the age of 13 onwards, you become a man, no longer in the eyes of daddy a child. And a man has responsibilities.
Becoming a man and responsible for all of Jewry together with all the other Jews.
Yes.
Jewish people differ from the non-Jewish world in respect that we have a collective responsibility with one another and are charged, rewarded, and punished for everyone's deeds collectively.
The Jew has a responsibility towards the whole world, towards the non-Jewish world. Remember.
They gave me a lot to think about before my bar mitzvah in a few days' time.
מה אתה רוצה? ענבים יש? יש לך.